Yeah. It's on YouTube too, so it'll be on here and it's on More Than Masters YouTube page. So you just go and I can send out a link or something like that. But I always try to share first. I could send it to multiple pages real quick.
Oh nope. We late today though.
You see it?
Sure.
I see it.
You see what?
Alive. I'm about to share it now.
I don't see it on my phone.
Yeah, I can hear it. All right. And y'all let me know if y'all can hear us on the live. Comment, say hi, say you can hear us. We could put any questions in the comments as well. When we get time, we'll read them. Any commentary y'all want, just make sure y'all put in the comment section. We got the great Q. She's here. She got her blaze on. You know, she's been blazing the city today. So
yeah, I've been out here today.
you had your own interview earlier.
I did have my own interview.
How did that go for you?
It went good. I think it was good. It was with Reginald Forrest, WAAZ 97.3 FM. So it was a good one, a good interview.
Okay.
He, do a what is it called? Education Matters.
Okay.
A radio segment called Education Matters. So it was good though. It was good. We did it early this morning at like 10. How your day been?
I've been working since 5 in the morning. So
you've been working since 5?
Normal Tuesday for me. Yeah.
Normal Tuesday.
Yep.
All right. Well, we got a guest today. Hey y'all.
Special guest.
Welcome in. Y'all share it live.
Make sure y'all share the live. Put any comments in the comment section as well.
All right. So it's enough people on.
Yeah, go ahead, introduce the guest.
All right. So we're gonna jump in today. We're gonna start with letting our guest introduce herself and tell her why she's here.
So I'm Alexia Davis Payne, and I'm running for Superior Court Judge of Richmond and Burke counties.
Okay. Are you a lawyer?
I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing here in Augusta for the past 20 years. I started out at the Public Defender's Office. I was there for 12 years, and now I'm in private practice, which I've been doing for the past 8 years with Davis, Chapman, and Wilder.
Okay.
Well, here what we try to do is we want to ask you questions like for current, but I just want to bring people up to speed into who you are. So kind of tell us like where you're from, like just your little background about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Texas. I grew up in the DFW area. I played soccer. I took a soccer scholarship. I went to Baylor, and I played at Baylor for a couple of years until I tore up my knees. And then after that, so I studied business while I was there, international business and marketing. And then when I finished from Baylor, I went a little bit further south and I went to New Orleans. Happy Mardi Gras. That Tuesday, y'all. And I went to Tulane Law School. And so while I was at Tulane, I thought I was going to do sports law, but realized that I really liked working with underserved populations and at-risk youth. And so I started working with the Juvenile Law Clinic and really, really loved that. And then I decided I was going to be a public defender. And that's how I got to Augusta.
All right. So real quick, I just can't just skip by this like soccer. Like yeah. Of all things. And I don't have nothing against soccer. It's a great sport, I'm sure. What got you into soccer and how good were you?
She got a scholarship.
I was good. I was good. So I actually started playing when I was little. I played with my team growing up was called the Jammers. And we had a whole little jingle that we sang when we went to the baby shower, and I will save y'all my singing, but we did that. So I started playing when I was about 4 years old. I played with one team for a while, and then I went to a club team. So it's kind of like AAU, but I went to club soccer, and it was just big in my area. And so I grew up in the area it was Mansfield is where I'm really from. And soccer was big in North Texas. And so my team was really good. I did Olympic development program. I played high school. I played club. We traveled around. When I was growing up in high school, we went to Colorado. We went to DC. We came to Columbus, Georgia a few times. We kind of went a little bit of everywhere across the country playing soccer. And then I went to Baylor to play.
No, I just, and this far as sports, like what do you think you learned from sports that kind of like propelled you just in your life and what you do now?
So teamwork, right? I think that women who have participated in playing sports, they've got a lot of excellent leadership qualities. So what I learned is how to work as a team and how to fill in the gaps, right? So when you've got a team, everybody plays a different role. And I know how to be out front when necessary. I know how to play support when necessary. And so I've got, I know how to balance and take the lead and do whatever's necessary to make the team successful. And so I think that that's one of the characteristics that I have really been reliant on as I've kind of developed my career and through my work history.
Okay, well, my clap button. I'm gonna clap it up for you. I probably can't hear it. I can hear it over here though. But I just wanted to use the clap button because I always ask questions like that at the beginning just to get people comfortable, So I know I asked you, I was like, well, how good were you? That just more so get you comfortable. I'm ready to, talk your stuff. So, but going from there, you did mention being a public defender. I'm looking for a public defender interview for my show, but talk about that a little bit because y'all get a bad rap. I don't mean to laugh. It's not funny, but y'all do get a bad rap. Like I feel like when people hear public defender, they just feel like they're going down. I don't know why. They just do.
And so I think, yes, so public defenders do get a bad rap. And what I try to tell people there are good attorneys and there are bad attorneys or not so good attorneys. And it doesn't really matter how much you pay them, right? It matters about whether they have the heart for the people that they're representing. And so when I came to Georgia, they had just implemented the Public Defender Council at that point in time. And what it was designed to do was overhaul the public defender system, because at that point in time, so back in 2005, the public defenders were appointed counsel and not necessarily in-house. And so the difference that made was that you had a set of attorneys who were just tasked with representing the clients that they were housed basically in one office, and they were tasked with representing only the set of clients that they were appointed to. They didn't have an outside private practice, so their allegiances weren't divided. And so that was the premise of creating a centralized office. And so the goals of that system were to, in essence, overhaul the system and create more support, more resources for public defenders. And as we developed our office locally, we had an excellent office. We had a lot of really good attorneys come through. I've worked with them. A lot of them are in different positions throughout the county now and throughout the state. And so they have gone on to be excellent attorneys. And so I think we really bonded and worked hard together and worked well as a team. And so most of them have gone on to do great things. And so the public defender's office in Augusta has been excellent, has had excellent leadership. And I think that the community has been better served for the attorneys that come through that office.
Okay. No, most definitely. But as far as like, even when you were doing, the public defender, what are some I guess like wins that you had with that, as far as, you taking on a case, but maybe it didn't look so well, but maybe, you overcame that, or somebody maybe not believing in you, but then you make them a believer as this case go on?
So I think it's the opportunity to just connect with people, right? And so we got asked a lot of, well, how do you represent those people? You mean people? Right? They're just people, right? So, they're people who have been charged with something, and my goal as a defense attorney is to make sure that the other side is held to their burden. So if you say they did something, prove it. All right. And that is what the Constitution demands of everyone, is that, that they have their day in court. So I had a really, being a defense attorney gives you a unique opportunity to see your clients up close and personal, right? As you get to know them. And so at the beginning of my practice and really throughout it, I represented a lot of young men. And so I had, I represented some 15, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds early on that had really significant charges. And I just remember kind of getting to talk to them and figure out, how did you get here? And sometimes it was, they hadn't finished school, right? That's one of the things that I really saw often, is that my clients hadn't finished high school, right? They had 9th grade educations, and they just weren't finishing school. And not finishing school creates really challenging economic opportunities later on in life. And so that is a turning point that can kind of get you into the system. Once you're in, it's hard to get out. And so sometimes, they had mental health issues, or they were masking that with addiction. So you saw things up close, right? And then we had some really fun cases, right? And I say fun as in, I had a lot of trials as a public defender, and obstruction. So I started out with quite a few obstruction cases. And then from there, I've tried armed robbery cases. I've tried drug cases. I've tried murder cases. I've tried theft cases. I've tried all kinds of cases. And you get not guilty verdicts in some, right? And those are especially sweet, because especially when you can see that the facts do not support what the charge is. What we saw often was that cases were frequently overcharged, and we had to go to trial because the charges were too strong for what the facts were. And that is, again, that's a turning point, right? If it's too strong, then that's not right. And so that's what we're fighting against, is that it wasn't right. And so you just want to make sure that you're giving people the best opportunity to move forward.
What's your thoughts though on people not believing in the system? Like, you got your doubters, you got people that just talk about it, not only not believing in the system, but also not knowing the law.
Most people don't know, right? I live it, I breathe it. It's around me all the time, but most people don't know what the courts, why is the court important? They only find out once they get in trouble. And the average person doesn't know the different levels of courts, right? And so you don't know that Superior Court handles felonies and family law cases. You don't know that state court, that Superior Court also handles cases in controversy, civil, of more than 15,000, right? You don't know that magistrate and civil court can handle local ordinances, animal control, those kinds of things. You don't know that state court handles misdemeanors, and lower amount cases and civil cases. Then we've got juvenile court, right? There's a lot of specialty that kind of goes throughout all of the courts that people just don't, they hope they never have to find out. But once they find out, they hope that there's fairness when they get there. And so that's really the key, is a lot of people feel like their voices are not heard when they appear in front of the court. And that's the most frustrating thing. And so a good attorney is going to make sure that their client's voice is heard. A good judge is going to make sure that everyone that appears in front of them feels respected, feels like they've had an opportunity to speak their piece, and that a fair judgment was rendered.
Got you. And just how much of the job is also like not just defending, your client, but also like teaching, trying to teach, trying to gain or give, whether it's the client or the family, that knowledge of what law is.
So I mean, yeah, I think that people have a huge misconception, right? As they come in and particularly for criminal cases, right? Everyone has said, well, I was arrested and no one read me my Miranda rights, right? But your Miranda rights are something that you are entitled to if they ask you questions while you're in custody, right? It is custodial interrogation. And that doesn't, just because they didn't read you Miranda doesn't mean that the case gets thrown out, right? It relates to a specific piece of information. So if they ask you questions and they haven't read you Miranda, it relates to whether or not the statement that you made is admissible to be used against you in court. All right. It doesn't have to do with the entire set of facts. So there's just a lot of misconceptions about what the law is and how it's applied in reality. So we have an opportunity and an obligation to try to explain that to the family as much as possible, right? And explain that to our clients, because understanding what's going on can sometimes help people from coming back in front of the courts. Another thing that I try to tell my clients all of the time is, right, like, especially from a criminal side, is guns make it worse, right? And so there's mandatory time usually that comes with any crime that's committed with a firearm. So like an armed robbery goes from a theft case or a robbery, which is parole eligible, to a mandatory minimum of 10 to serve. Plus an extra 5, and that first 10 is not eligible for parole. And so those are things that people don't always know.
Oh, I thought somebody was saying something. My bad. But and just to stay on one for a second too, I got another question for this. Like, what's your thoughts on, if you have to deal with, I don't know, of like how, when you watching as someone who practices law, when you watching like Law and Order or something like that, or these shows that's kind of strictly for entertainment, what's your thought process watching it? Are you watching it as a spectator who just enjoying it, or are you watching it like, that's not true, they can't do that, they can't do that, they can't do that?
It depends. So when I first started, before I went to law school, I used to enjoy a good Law and Order marathon. And then when I first came out of law school, it made me crazy. It made me, it bothered me a lot, because what you're seeing is very strong prosecution. It is from only on the lens of the prosecution, right? And they are doing whatever they're saying that the ends justify the means. And so they kind of will bend and twist to try to get the person that they think did it. And they don't always have a realistic reflection of the procedure, courtroom procedure, the time it takes to prepare a case. And often you'll kind of see a lot of trials that are in progress, but evidence coming in at the very last minute, or full investigations that are still going on while the case is already, while the trial is happening. And that's not real life. Most of that happens before you get to trial, and trial is the end of the investigation. They're not searching for the smoking gun during the course of the trial itself. So.
I asked that question because, like, when I hear people talking, or whether they go live, or whether they talk about a case they know nothing about or whatever, you hear them say like, all I watch is Law and Order, so I'm good. Like, that's not enough. Like, that don't really mean nothing. It just means you entertain every day,
Yeah. No, it's very different. It's very different. And each case is fact specific, right?
Yeah.
The law is very fact specific. So you apply the law to the facts, and it can be one small detail can change from one instance to another, and that can impact the outcome, right? It can impact the sentence. It can impact whether or not evidence is permitted to be heard in front of a jury. It can impact how a jury perceives that piece of evidence. And so all of those things are really important. And TV is entertaining, but it is not, most of the time, it's not an accurate portrayal of what the law is. Some shows are better than others, but Law and Order is fun, but it is not, it's not real.
So Augusta does a lot of plea deals. Like, tell me, is it beneficial to do plea deals?
So when a criminal case is brought, there's really kind of three options that you have, and that's go to trial, take the offer that's accepted, or plead to the charges, right? And that's so there's a space where during the course of your investigation, you are looking to see if there is new evidence or there's information that mitigates or eliminates or proves that the charges are incorrect, right? And most people, once they are facing charges, are risk averse, right? And so that is my decision. It's not my decision whether or not someone enters a plea. That's always the client's decision. And so people have to decide what they're willing to risk, if they're willing to go to trial, if they are willing to play. Sometimes that's, family's livelihood. And sometimes sometimes they have to, there's a delay in that process that could lead them to wanting to enter a plea because it's going to take too long for them to get to a place where they can actually fight the facts of that, right? So it depends on if they're in custody. It depends on if they're on bond. And so all of those are factors that go into whether someone decides how they're going to resolve their case.
Since we're on the topic of plea deals, though, like talk about tell me what it is, trial tax.
So the trial tax is what happens is when someone decides that they are going to go to trial and challenge the facts or challenge the indictment, right? So the indictment or accusation is actually the charging document that says what law the accused is or the defendant has been accused of breaking, right? And they have a decision to make. One, whether that is, I don't think that this is the correct set of facts, right? I don't think that this is the correct law. I don't think that it's exactly what you're saying happened. And then they have to decide if they're going to go to trial, right? Whether they can exercise their constitutional right to challenge the charging document and go to trial. However, a lot of times, people are scared to go to trial because they are afraid that if they lose, they are going to be sentenced significantly harsher after trial than they would have if they had not fought it, right? So basically, they're afraid. They're afraid to fight. They're afraid to fight, and they're afraid to say this is wrong because they're going to be penalized for that.
Yeah. So in Augusta, why would people in Augusta be afraid of going to court? Is it more so like the situations that occur that most people have seen they've took it to trial and they've gotten sentenced a large sentence, or is it just a myth? Like, is it factual or is it a myth?
Oh no, it's real. Oh. It's real. So you go to trial, and if you lose, they are taking into consideration whether or not you have wasted resources, or whether or not you have we had to call these people off of their jobs, right? And so they are analyzing all of those things, and they're looking at that. And so sometimes they're like, well, you had an offer on the table, you had a different offer, you could have done something else, and because you didn't take that offer, and because the judge is doing what you have considered as wasting our time, there's an additional harsher sentence that is imposed.
So you're saying that we're being penalized for utilizing our rights?
If there's a conviction, yes.
But can I ask a question? I just want one question. Like I know you said that the judge decided, like what goes into deciding someone wasted the court's time? Like what would determine you wasted our time? What would determine that factor?
Just the conviction?
It can't be just a conviction. There's no way. That's the way, for real?
The judges have discretion. And so it's whether the judge exercises the discretion. Judges have complete sentencing discretion. They have the ability to accepted pleas that are recommended. They have the pleas. They have the ability to reject plea recommendations, right? So sometimes they can get plea recommendations and they can say, no, I don't think that that is an appropriate plea. I don't think that that is a harsh enough sentence for what's in front of me. And so they can reject pleas and send everybody back out, right? And that is challenging because the attorneys that are actually working the case have the most insight as to what is an appropriate resolution. And the judges are supposed to be able to be impartial and to trust that the people who have been negotiating and working out these cases have reached an appropriate resolution if the parties have agreed to that. And so when plea deals are rejected, that takes away some of the prosecutor's discretion in what they are in their recommendations. It also takes away from time for resolving cases in a timely fashion because people are afraid to put up reasonable resolutions that they don't think that the court is going to accept.
Okay. Well, I want to get into like, what you're running for. Like, let's talk about the position you're running for and what that position entails.
So I'm running for Superior Court Judge, and that would be in Richmond and Burke counties. So the Augusta Judicial Circuit covers 2 counties. It used to cover 3, but Columbia County left us a while back. And so, yeah.
That's crazy.
They follow their person.
Yeah.
We'll give you a job.
Chill.
We'll make your own job right here.
Yeah, they withdrew. And so now we are, it's just Augusta, Hepzibah, Blythe, Waynesboro.
It's a stretch.
Yeah. So it's a pretty large geographic area, but both counties is what we cover. And so the judges appear in both circuits and handle felony cases, family law cases, and so when I say a felony, right, to be very clear, that is a case that cover a criminal charge that carries more than 1 year to serve or on probation. So misdemeanors are 12 months or less. A felony is anything more than that.
I don't know. I'm acting like I don't know nothing about law. So I'm just asking you for who that's watching. It might not be for me. It might be for me. I don't know. But like, what's the difference between like that Superior Court judge and like another judge? Cause some people don't even know that there are different judges for different things.
Right. And so it's just the kind of cases that they hear. So Superior Court functions in both Richmond and Burke counties. Our state court judges are county specific. So we've got a state court in Richmond County that's based on population. And so they actually only hear cases, misdemeanor cases on the criminal side in Richmond County. Burke County has its own state court. And so there's a separate judge down there that handles Burke County cases. Then we've got our civil and magistrate court judge and some of the lower courts. But the Superior Court is technically the highest court on a local level. After Superior Court comes the Court of Appeals, which is based out of Atlanta. And once cases have been decided in Superior Court, if you want to challenge the rulings from a Superior Court, you would take that up to a higher court, which would be either the Supreme Court of Georgia or the Court of Appeals of Georgia.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, like what made you want to run for this?
So it was time to run for me. So it was when I sat down. I am raising a family here. So I have a 6-month-old.
Congrats.
And thank you. And my husband, he's got a son. And so what I have noted is how important it is to have a different perspective on this bench. Our Superior Court bench has been dominated by prosecutors. They all have, except for two of our more recent judges, have worked at the district attorney's office primarily. And the seat that I am challenging She's always been a prosecutor, and she worked as the district attorney in Richmond in the Augusta Circuit. She also worked as an assistant district attorney, and that is her background. But I bring something new. I bring something different. I bring something fresh. And so that is the fact that I've actually represented people. I've stood next to them during their most challenging times. And I know what that feels like to stand next to them. And I know what it feels like to connect to the families. And I know what it feels like to represent people and not just prosecute them. I also know what it feels like to fight for access to your child, right? We often think that there's a default parent, right? It took two people to make the child, but we're only going to count one as a parent, right? I know what it looks like when people, when moms are using their children as weapons. And I know how important it is that everyone that appears in front of the court has a voice, and that voice is respected, and that their rights are protected, because that does not always happen. And I think, no, I know how important that is. And I know that our bench needs a change, and we need the fresh perspective and somebody who's got balanced experience, and can see what's happening in the courtroom from both sides instead of just looking at it from a skewed angle, and only on one side. We need to be able to see everything.
You mentioned bench. So and I like I said, you saying words I know to you it just seemed like a regular word, but I want to break it down a little bit. When you say a bench, so there's also other judges.
Yes. So when I say bench, what I mean is that's what when you walk into the courtroom, there is the gallery, which is the seats that are closest to the door when you walk in. Then there is what's called the bar. And so there's a rail that sits at the front of the courtroom that separates kind of the defense and the prosecution table from the gallery, which is where the general public sit. And so we call that the bar. The bar is what is attorneys practice in the bar, the Augusta Bar Association, the Georgia Bar Association. And the bench is the, in essence, the elevated seat that the judge sits on, right? And so we call that the bench. And so the judge sits on the bench. And so when I'm referring to the bench, I'm talking about all of the judges as a collective. There's only one judge that hears a case at a time, so we don't have a panel of judges like the Court of Appeals does or the Supreme Court does, but we have one judge that sits and hears the facts at one time. But when I'm referring to the bench, I'm referring to all of the judges that are in Superior Court.
How many?
We have 6 now.
Okay.
We have 6. And when I'm elected, I will be the first Black woman that's elected to the Superior Court bench in Augusta Circuit.
All right, clap it up for you. Clap it up. Black History Month too. Come on now. Come on, man. I like that.
What's your sentencing philosophy?
My sentencing philosophy is that we need to look at the person in front of us, right? It's fact specific. So sentences are not one size fits all. People do need to be responsible for their actions, but I think that we also have an opportunity to identify the root cause and try to keep people from coming back in front of the court, whether that is connecting them with job opportunities so that they are not making the same kinds of decisions, that their economic situation improves, whether that is addressing the addiction issues. So we need to eliminate any judicial barriers there are to our accountability courts. And when I say accountability courts, we're talking about our diversionary courts. So we've got a mental health court, we've got a drug court, we've got a veterans court, and we've got a very large circuit, and we should have more participants in those courts. And so that is an opportunity for us to give people the skills that they need to move forward and to be successful in our community.
Yeah.
Right.
I read somewhere
I
that
want to say I love that answer. That was a great answer.
Yeah,
by the
it
way.
was a good answer. I read somewhere that Judge Wright created those different courts, like the drug court, the mental wellness, the veterans. Like but are they utilized? You're saying that it needs to be utilized, so there should be more people in it. But are they actual beneficial, and are they being utilized? Because it seems like more people are sentenced and sent up the road than they are actually put in a rehabilitation.
So I want to clarify a couple of things. One, so before the circuit split, we did have a judge who was very a proponent of our drug and accountability courts. She's over the one locally now in the Augusta Circuit, but she did not create it. And so what I think is important, though, is that we don't have enough people, right? Our accountability courts are underutilized. And so we have an opportunity to put more people into those courts so that they can be successful. And we have, I think, an opportunity to keep more people in our community with shorter sentences. Because I think one thing that people don't even realize is, and we talk to people and they're like, well, I can't vote. I've got the felony on my history. Well, in fact, you can vote when you're not under sentence. All right. So once you have completed your sentence, whether or not you have been convicted of a felony in the past, you're actually able to vote. You can't vote while you're under sentence. But long sentences have an impact on people's ability to actually participate as voting citizens of the community. And so I think that that's important. It's hard for people to maintain jobs when they're under sentence. Employers are concerned about whether or not they are high or what kind of risk they are for going back to jail. And so I think it's important that if we can get reasonable sentences in place, we can allow people to move forward faster.
Okay. We got a comment, if you don't mind, real quick. Eric Gaines, he says, how you doing, Eric Gaines, by the way? He says, can she speak about veteran court and how we are actively utilizing this right now?
So our veterans court, there are a couple of different ways that people can kind of go through the accountability courts overall. And sometimes they can go through and not have a conviction. Sometimes they go through their like pre-conviction and post-conviction. And sometimes they can go through and even though they have a conviction. And the goal of Veterans Court is actually to connect our veterans, our service members to the resources that they need and to take into account their unique circumstances to address, again, whatever the issues are that have brought them before the court, right? So the purpose of the courts themselves is to provide additional support so that people are not just revoked when they are unsuccessful on their sentences. It is to connect them to additional resources to take into account what may be the issue and to navigate them forward. But again, we are, this is a community full of veterans, right? It's a military installation here. And so we should be utilizing those courts to move people forward.
I wanted to go back to something you said earlier. I should have wrote it down, but you mentioned like that in the past, you had a lot of judges on this bench that were on the prosecuting side. A lot seems to be, they say like maybe one or two in the last, I don't know how long that was that represented, people. Are there any, like, maybe not statistics per se, but any findings of how that has affected, I guess, just people in the city?
Well, let me add to that since that question is there. Richmond County is pretty much, their jail population is majority Black. What will you do to like to address?
Hey, talking to the microphone a little bit.
You can hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now we're loud and clear now. Yeah, right. Amazing.
What will you do to address the fairness in the sentencing?
So I think, again, we have some programs that are in place right now and that have been put in place by the district attorney that are allowing people to move forward without convictions when possible. So the diversion programs that are in place really allow a lot of cases to come to avoid having to come in front of a judge. All right. And I think that that's significant because that gives, that allows him his discretion to decide what really needs to come in front of the judge. The the other part of that is once cases are in front of the judge, the court has an obligation to impose a reasonable and appropriate sentence, right? I think it's important that people have their cases heard as quickly as possible. And so we need to address low-level offenses and make some decisions about bond, right? Because there's two different places, right? We've got people who are awaiting court who are not able to make their bonds, right? Because their bonds are too high. There's two that they're not appropriate for the set of facts, right? And so I think that the court has an ability to move forward low-level, nonviolent offenses more quickly than it currently is doing.
How do you check your own biases before making decisions?
I think that's the benefit of having worked with people and represented people, is that you get to recognize that there are so many reasons for people coming in front of you. And if you just have an ability to listen to them, that allows you to really see the whole person. And so that's what you have to be able to do from the bench, is you've got to be able to see the whole person. And my background has allowed me to develop a lens that permits me to do that. And so I think if I had only seen one side of the courtroom, it makes it very challenging to kind of check that bias, right? Is I wouldn't be able to know where people came from, how they got here, but being hands-on, representing, young women, men, families, knowing that that's somebody's child that's standing in front of me, I think that allows me to really, I won't say not have any bias, but it limits it, right? Is you're able to have a really good perspective on that.
I got a comment here. Kim Macon, making a difference. How you doing, Kim Macon? He said, if elected, you would be the second Black female Superior Court judge in the circuit's history. Beyond that achievement, how would your election change the lives of Augustans on a day-to-day basis? Further, he asked the best question, by the way. Further, what do you believe people should know more about as it relates to how the courts operate? Thank you. Thank you, Kim Macon.
He late.
Hey,
he late. Because she done answered something. She done answered that he late.
It might be some viewers here that wasn't here in the beginning.
He late. He got to go back and watch that because we got other questions.
Oh, well, go ask the question.
She can answer the first question, but she answered his second question already.
So I think it's important that people see you in the community, right? And so being active, I'm involved with quite a few organizations right now that allow me to be involved, right? And so I think just being present, continuing to work with those organizations. And so I've worked with, I've read with Dream Builders. I worked with kids who, a literacy program down at what used to be River Glen. I don't even know the name of it anymore, but we've been in River Glen. We've been in Barton Village. We've been in Cherry Tree Crossing. And so I think having that connection and people kind of seeing my journey is inspiring. And that is what impacts people, right? Is being able to kind of reach out and touch somebody and see, that this is there's opportunities. And, my family is not from here, but I have really committed to this community. I've been engaged and involved. One of the things that we did at the Public Defender's Office when I was there, which is we brought the high school mock trial program back to Augusta. And some of the schools are still operating, but we actually had a team at the YDC, and we had the YDC team, a group of young men who participated and who competed, and they were able to come over. We had coaches from the Public Defender's Office, and they were able to compete with some of the non-incarcerated youth in the high schools program. And so that was really cool to see that. And so I think I just bring that connection to the community. And that's what would be some important for me being in this position.
Okay.
You know, earlier you mentioned bias. I just want to ask you this question about bias. Like, as a judge, like, is that a pro con? Is that like needed, necessary, not necessary? Like, as far as like knowing all sides of just people, whether it be where they came from, where they're going, their background, having sympathy, compassion, love for the law, whatever. Like, when you say bias, like, kind of expound that a little more if you don't mind.
So I think it's important that you can connect to the community that comes in front of you, right? And so
Sounds good.
if you haven't experienced it, if you haven't been in the space, if you haven't worked with people, you don't know what that looks like. You don't know what it feels like. And that disconnect manifests in your sentences. It manifests in your rulings from the bench. And I bring that balanced experience and the ability to see both sides. And that's why it is important that I am elected, because we need that change. We need somebody who actually has that connection that does not currently exist on the bench in Augusta.
I love that answer. Q, King got another question. Can you ask it, or I don't know if you blocking that one or something?
Sure.
Okay, I know you being Matumbo today. So.
She did already answer. We got other questions.
One more question. You've spoken extensively about family court and the rights of both mothers and fathers. I think people see the court system as something that's divisive. How do you see the local justice system being employed in a way that actually edifies and builds families?
It's an opportunity that we have. We have an opportunity to work to heal. And I think once we put some, counseling needs to be in place. And this is something that we kind of always talk about is family counseling is so important because, again, we're getting to the root of why people are in front of us. When people are angry, when people are hurt, it is very hard for them to step outside of themselves and figure out what's best for the children. The court has an opportunity to really see who is going to be best for the children and see who is working towards taking care of the children instead of just repeatedly violating the court's orders and not being held and not. The court has a responsibility to hold those people accountable also.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what happens is, they hold people accountable in criminal cases, but in family court cases, we're like, well, mom is mom and, she loves the kids. And we don't give the same credit to dads to be able to care for the children. And we don't hold mom to the same standards to be, to try to make better decisions and to try to really work with dad. I think that's something that's lacking. And I've seen that firsthand in some of my cases right now, right? Is that we've got parents that are repeatedly just blatantly disobeying court orders because they don't think that there's going to be any accountability as a result of that.
I'm glad you on that because that was my next question. So how do you deal with repeat offenders? But with your new vision, what if the repeat offender never had treatment, never went to counseling, never it's always been a sentence. It's always been this. So how would you deal with that type of client?
So again, I think people need an opportunity to, we need to have those supports in place, right? And so one of the things is, we've got, this community is filled with nonprofits, right? And those nonprofits, we need to step up and connect to the courts and really, wrap around the people that come in front of the court, right? Is we need to put our arms around them and we need to figure out what services they need because those services are available in the community. We just need to build partnerships with those providers so that we can know who is available, what services they offer, and how they can support the courts and the people that come in front of it.
So what about just repeat offenders? Just dealing with just blatantly being repeat offenders?
Well, some times people are, that there's a hard decision, and people do have to learn from their mistakes, right? And so there's still accountability that is required.
Are you always this tone? Calm and cool? Like always? Like mellow? Like I'm just trying to imagine, like when something rattles you, are you still going to be like this? Because you may read something and it may bore you.
I think mostly I am. Yeah. Right. I've learned to do that. And so that doesn't mean that I don't get worked up, but I think that I won't say I've mastered it, but I've worked really hard to kind of, you have to be calm, right? My clients are going through very challenging circumstances. They are going through hard things. And so it doesn't do either of us good if everybody's highly emotional. And so if they're emotional, then I need to be kind of the voice of calm. One of the things that we always do is take a deep breath. Okay. Then take another deep breath and another deep breath. And by the time that we get to the fourth deep breath, now we can talk. Right. And so I do have that. That doesn't mean that, you can talk to me any kind of way, but, but I do try very hard to maintain a calm demeanor presentation, because that's important. It's soothing for my clients, and that gives an air of it's a comfort, and I think that's what it is. It's comforting, and so and trust, right?
You were previously a public defender, so how would you balance the public defenders and the prosecutors as they come in front of you?
Everybody has a job to do, right? And so it doesn't work unless everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? And so the prosecution has a responsibility to prove what they charge, and the defense their job is to hold the prosecution accountable, so make them prove it, right? And that is by being prepared. That is by an investigation, filing appropriate motions, making sure that everyone doesn't overcharge, right? And so it just doesn't work if both sides aren't good. Anytime that the prosecution is too strong without an appropriate balance, that is when more harm is done than good, right? So I think it's important that both sides are strong.
I just got a question. A lot of things you're saying reminds me of when you're dealing with crime. It's like being smart with it, like we're not just throwing a book at somebody, for a lack of better words. But why do you think when someone is trying to be smart with crime, it looked as like you being soft?
Because we have been programmed as society to be afraid. Right? And I think that there's a space where you have to really decide who you're afraid of and who you're mad at. Right. And so I'm not as afraid, and I'm not as angry. And so I think that that's important. Right. And so if you are, some people should not be amongst us, right? But there's not as many as people think. And sometimes we're just angry. And if you can set aside what your own personal anger is, then you can recognize and see the person that is on the other side of you, and make a decision that is appropriate, and that can, potentially help them move forward. But again, you can't be angry at everybody just because you had a bad day particularly.
So judges have bad days?
They do, but they shouldn't take it out on the people in front of them.
Have you seen it be taken out in front of them, on the people that's in front of them?
I have.
You have. So who holds the judge responsible after? Is there nobody that holds the judge responsible for making an emotional decision because they are within their right to do so?
In theory, but a good judge will recognize that they have made a mistake, and they have the ability to change that. And I've actually seen that before. So I have seen a judge in one of my cases sentence and come back the next day and say, you know what, I don't think that I made the right decision there, and change the sentence, and lowered the sentence, and that was highly commendable, and I was impressed. It doesn't happen often, right? But it was a man that I respect and is no longer sitting on the bench any longer.
You mentioned earlier, I know Q had said something about, are you always this calm? And then you mentioned a little while ago about how we've been programmed, trying not to being fair, be scared. Why do you think people are like look at judges like they supposed to be mean, or they always mean, or they rude?
I think because they don't see the ability for the judge to connect to the person that's in front of them. So I think that's what it is that they don't, if you don't think that the person can see you, understands what you have been through, has any connection to you personally, I think that makes it very, very hard to have faith in a system that doesn't seem to respect you, right? And seems to kind of throw you away. And I think that we have had, for a very long time in this community, we have had the bench has been held by a few, closely held, and it has not been, it's been wielded against more people than it has been an unfair application of the law. That's what I would say. And so
I want to start using it. It was an unfair application of the law. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yep, sure is.
Oh, I was going to ask about that, but
Yes.
someone should answer that question. I was going to ask her,
Yes.
how does politics play a role in like judging and with judges, rulings and things of that nature, DA, all that stuff, because it all trickled down to me. In my time of interviewing people, I've seen where different professions meet other professions, and I guess they all kind of are intertwined in some way, shape, or form.
So we have, I mean, your perspective informs your decisions, right? So what you think of your community informs the decisions that you make. What you make, what kinds of nationwide policies you support inform what kinds of local policies you implement.
I like it. What about as far as campaigning? Like, what are some things you learning as you campaign? I mean, you've been around for a minute. You've been doing this for a long time, so I'm sure it's not quote unquote new to you. But this is an important seat as you're campaigning. What are some things you're learning, whether it be about the city, about just law, politics, the ins and outs? What are some things you're learning and some things you're liking while campaigning?
So I didn't learn this while I was campaigning, but I learned this when I went through Leadership Augusta in 2016, that our schools were actually not integrated until 1978. Okay. And I think that is a significant, very recent development, right? And so if that was not that long ago, right? And so I think that we're still feeling the impact of those delayed decisions, even though our judicial, there were mandates that were before then. And so I think that our community is still trying to find its way, but we've got some opportunities. And campaigning is a grind, right? Like you're out here every day, you're talking to people, you're meeting people, you're walking neighborhoods, and you really just see how much people are inspired and how people are really looking for a change, right? It's surprising how much people don't know about the court system overall, right? Again, I live it, I breathe it, but most people have no idea, right? It's not their circle. And so how much just education is really needed about what is going on. People kind of live in their bubble and they see only what is, right around that circle. And so how important it just is to be present and for more education to happen about the court system overall.
Do you think, I know it's not in the school system, and I always, I guess was a little perplexed that it wasn't taught. Like I didn't learn anything about the city of Augusta or any of the rules or anything. I had to go find it myself. I had to go learn these things myself. Do you think if we were to incorporate something of the such in public schools that there'll be less people in front of you because they know the consequences of their actions? They know that if you go out and do this, you get 20 years. Off top, there's no negotiating. This is a mandate sentence. Just being informed about how a simple traffic ticket can put you in jail for a year, 12 months. A simple traffic ticket, running the light, running the stop sign. But you don't learn that. You don't learn that when you go take your driver's test. There is no laws that's attached to it. There is signs in what you're supposed to do. When you commit a crime, there are books out here that you can go and learn and read. You can go to the law library and you can read it and figure it out yourself. But we all know that the law language is different from the English language. It just is. And law is strategy, words, and placement in the way that you put it all together. But if that was done, do you think that would be beneficial? And I'm not sure exactly why. I know they say they don't like politics in the school system, but I'm not understanding how that's politics when it helps the society do better.
So I think it would be beneficial, right? But I think that there's a lot of community organizations that are working to shed some light on that, right? Again, some of the programs that I work with, we try to have that informational sessions. It's challenging though, because the schools are, they have other mandates. And so that doesn't mean that they shouldn't have the, legal information. And I do think that there's a space where with more education, people would not end up in front of the court as often. But a lot of the things that bring people in front of the court are really, sometimes it's opportunity, sometimes it's status, just trying to make ends meet, and it's not always, you just are not thinking about what the alternatives are, right? So sometimes people.
But they are though, because they think if I tell the judge the truth, if I tell you that I was starving, I still committed the crime though, right? Because at the end of the day, I just told you I committed the crime, and this is what the punishment is for the crime, despite the circumstances, because there's always circumstances that's attached to it. And people that's not informed with how the justice system work and what you tell them could be used against you and all that. You get penalized for telling the truth either way. But if you knew that I don't care what it is, that this is in black and white, I don't care what it is, no matter what the excuse that's attached to it, if you commit a crime, yes, I will hear you out, but you still will get this sentence. You're still going to get this time. You're still going to get jailed or whatever it is. If they knew that, even if it's circumstance-based, because I grew up in the bottom, even if it's circumstance-based, if you are aware that if I commit any of these, this is what I'm looking at, you don't think that would help them to not be in front of you? Like, it's a lot of us in front of the court. I'm just gonna keep it 100. It's a lot of us in the courthouse, in the jailhouse.
What you mean us?
It's a lot of black people.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
A lot of black constituents that constantly, since I was young and before I was young, face being in court, in Senate. But mainly just constantly, when you go in the courtroom, you don't see a plethora of white people. You see all black people. You see their aunts, the cousins, the sisters, the brothers, plus the defendants. but it's just full of us. And the people on the other side is the attorneys, and they are white, or even a judge, but they're not relatable. So they can't relate to us. They haven't been in our community. They don't understand the struggle. They don't understand whether it's a struggle or if it's just a mental illness. They think that any reaction from anybody that's Black automatically it means something extremely bad, when it's equivalent to their white son acting out on the same level, or daughter, or whoever. It's all equivalent. They're still children at the end of the day acting out, but you don't get that grace even if you tell it. But I feel like if there were some form of information presented to you even while you in school, because that's really that's where you can get it from. You can get it from school because that's where you spend majority of your time at. If it was in school, it wouldn't be so many kids in front of our justice system. It just wouldn't.
Yes and no. Okay. Yes and no. I do think that there is a space where it would deter some people, right? It wouldn't deter everyone, though. And I think that's the challenge, right? And some people are aware of the risk, right? Because some people have seen family members end up in that set of circumstances and they still make some of the same choices, right? And it's not always, and that's why I say kind of, guns make it worse, right? Is because what we know. There was a window, I want to say, and I don't remember exactly, but there was a window when we had a lot of pizza delivery drivers that were being robbed, right?
I remember that,
right? And there was a lot of them. There was a lot of them, and it started. I think it started out because people thought that was, it was an easy lick, but then the reality is that you're not getting any money, and you're getting 10 years behind that $20, right? And so there is an educational piece to that. And so, but we don't see those as much anymore, right? So yes, there is a deterrent. But I think that there's kind of a lot of, urban myth, right? And so we don't fully have all of the information. And so it kind of just gets misconstrued. And so what you think the law is, right, is not really the law. And so it gets, when it's, it's kind of like a bad game of, what is that? Telephone, right? So it's like, it starts out with like one truth down here. And then by the time that you have gotten down to the end, it has turned into a totally different message. And so I think that's the issue is, yes, it does deter some people, but it doesn't deter everyone.
That makes sense. What you got?
Well, now I wanted to touch on something you had said, Q. I think being in the schools, it will be good. Of course, I'm never opposed to that. But I do think it go back to what she was saying. A few things she said actually, but I think just relatable. And I think Q, I'm sure you would agree to this. Me as well. From what we came up. Some people they made their mind up already too. Like we have to, when you talk about bias, you have to be aware that some people they know what come with everything they doing. It's just by age. They ain't got me yet. And when they do, I just deal with it.
But I don't think them aren't the ones I'm talking to, because typically those are the ones that's willing to accept their consequences as well. Like they try to finesse, but you already recognize the finesse game because you've seen it plenty of times. Not necessarily them, the ones that know, because I feel like they gonna come with the finesse and you kind of used to it because you haven't seen it. Everybody done ran the same game for the most part. I'm just blatantly talking about the ones that didn't know, like genuinely didn't know. It didn't seem that serious.
How do you decipher that though? Like, I'm asking you now, just conversation about how do you decipher like who didn't know? How you determine what's genuine, what's not genuine? Like who knew, who didn't know?
You don't.
I was out of curiosity because I be thinking the same thing, but then sometimes you just on a tangent. Like I told you, I went to the alternative school last year and I was talking to some of them. In real time, I'm not gonna lie, I felt bad for every single kid I talked to. I was like, oh my God, they don't belong here. This is crazy. Like that's how I felt, genuinely.
Go pull the fail.
And then someone will end up following me on Instagram and I'm seeing a story. I'm like, oh,
I know exactly why you here.
What's going on here? That's not the same guy I was talking to, you know. So I just say that sometimes they pull a fast one on. But I think something she said, I definitely want to touch on that with her. I think it was super important. Is in the beginning where I touched on sports and how that helped her in her life now. And some of the things she's saying I think is important because we talk about sentencing and how her process may be gonna be. And I think that's even teamwork. It's teamwork to sentence someone and say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to give you 10 years. I'm going, you need help. I'm going to give you help. We're going to put you here and we're going to partner with this particular entity, individual, company, and they're going to get you right, whether it's abuse, whether it's just a program to get you the information that you talking about you want in these schools. One thing I talk about with kids is a lot of kids, like a lot of people that's 21 up, 25, whatever, like they're not in school no more. So there's nobody to quote unquote care about them. You know, I always say once you're out of high school, you're on your own at that point. Ain't too many programs for you. So you run into a judge. Sometimes that's the best thing that can happen to you. You get caught. And you just get the right judge that care. That like she said, it has been around all sides of the coin, whether I prosecuted, whether I defended. I understand your background because I come from that. I did sports. I understand that, you know, I lived in certain places. I grew up with certain people, individuals from different walks of life that I'm thinking of them when I think of you. So I feel like, you know, I'm going to help you versus I'm going to send you away and, you know, hopefully you do it again in 10 years. That's just my piece. When you said that, I thought about all the stuff she was saying. I said, well, that kind of go hand in hand. But just get back to the campaign aspect of it. I know you probably answered the question a lot of times, but like, why you?
I'm ready. We need a change. And I'm the change that the community needs, right? It's time. And I have committed myself to this community. And I'm asking you to choose me, right? I chose to be here. I've invested. I've learned about it. I've worked. I've served. I love this city and I want it to be everything that I think it can be. And we're getting there. But I think part of the changes that we need to see are going to come from the court system. And we need to do that. And I need to do that for us.
How could citizens hold you accountable?
I think that we need to, citizens voting, right? Voting is how citizens hold people on the bench accountable, right?
Yeah, that's a good one right there.
Like you vote. That's how you hold people accountable. If you like the decisions and you like what's happening, you keep that person in office. If you don't like it, you vote them out. It's that simple. Voting is what keeps elected officials accountable.
What would make you step down from a bench?
If I don't think that I can do the job anymore, right? If I don't think that I am making decisions that are the correct decisions, right? If I'm not able to honor the law, if I'm not able to honor the community, then my time is up, right? If I'm no longer able to mentally or emotionally serve, then it would be time to make a transition.
We got a question. I think this is a good question. I'm not sure. It's
Hey, Dara.
Bowden. What do you want young people growing up in Augusta, especially those who have encounters with the system, to feel when they walk into your courtroom?
I want them to feel heard, right? I want them to know that they are going to be respected when they walk in, and that their rights are being protected, right? I want them to feel that they have gotten a fair outcome as a result of being in the courtroom. And I think that that's one of the most important things. Is you may not like the outcome, but I think you can feel that it is fair and that you've had an opportunity to be heard, and that the facts were evaluated and that a fair decision was issued by the court.
Where do people find their rights at? How do they become informed that these are my rights?
So there are forums, right? You can look online at right. You need to be cautious, but the
not Wikipedia.
Yeah, right. Not Wikipedia, but there are some good resources. You can go to the law library, right? But find law, you just need to find a reputable source. You can Justia, go talk to, you can go watch court, right? So court is open, right? If you've got questions about what's going on in the court system, you can go and watch court. You can talk to an attorney. There are a lot of forums that are held, and we can also, I think we have an opportunity and we've got an obligation to inform people of their rights. And so there are a number of attorneys around town who make sure that people are aware of what their rights are. We do that. We speak to community groups all of the time, to the schools. We go out into the schools, but they're, find out. Research, right, is research. And so you need
But
to
you're
know
saying
what's going on.
research and do reputable sources, but there's no specific place to go to get the actual information.
So I think it depends on what you're looking for, right? But you can go. So the library has a law library, right? There are books where all of the code sections are online. I believe OCGA, which is the official code of Georgia, the annotated version, they used to have a space where you could search it online. Find Law is another reputable source where you can put in. So if you're looking for a specific kind, but you need it state specific also.
Okay.
So we live on the border, right? And so what South Carolina laws do not apply in Georgia, and Georgia laws don't apply in South Carolina. So you need to look for Georgia specific laws as it relates to whatever you're looking for, right? Whether that's traffic violations. So people that are under 21 who have 4-point traffic violations. So if you're speeding and you're going more than 24 miles over the speed limit, your license can be suspended. Right. So there's things. So you can look up traffic laws. You can look up, your property rights, theft.
So it's different rights for different charges.
No, your rights are the same, right?
Okay.
It's the penalties and what is the requirements for proof, right? But so that's, I think, what's kind of challenging, right? Is like, what is the law for this kind of charge, right? That looks different. But generally you have the right to remain silent, right? And I always, I
you don't
advise
know you
people,
should be quiet.
yes, but respectfully so, right? And so you have the right to talk to an attorney, and so ask for one.
How do you know you picked a good attorney?
So I think that so you can ask around, but two, you talk to your attorney, right? Can you reach them? Do they answer your questions? How do you feel when you talk to them, right? Are they respectful to you when you speak to them? Because that's something that is, you have to be comfortable with the person in front of you, right? You're going to spend some time with this person. And so I think it's very important that you are comfortable. So ask questions. Can they answer your questions, right? Are they transparent with their answers? Like, so what is,
sorry, I don't understand.
So what does pricing look like, right? What is included in your representation? What is their communication policy? What is, how can you contact them? Do they have support staff that's going to be able to assist you? What kind of reputation do they have in the community, right? What are their reviews say, right? So that's the importance of people writing reviews. We live in a very Googleable society right now, right? And so everything is online and you can see what's going on with people and what have they said. And, and if you've got a good one, leave them a review so that other people can find that good attorney also.
Right. May, you got questions? We got questions in
But I do want to tell her though. I want to first of all congratulate her, but I want to tell her, I like when people are able to come up here because one is live, so that's already scary as enough as it is, right? And I'm not saying people that come up here don't have important jobs, but I know anything dealing with law is super important. You can't say the wrong thing because that's what you hang your hat on. But I do think it was, to me, seeing it is amazing to see somebody just be the same, even kill through 000 up until an hour and 20 something minutes, like just to no question through all. But we're just like, okay, I answered this question. I answered that question. Sometimes, you get people that give you the spin. You didn't give me the spin. I was thinking you give me the spin, but I didn't get the spin. So that was good. I like that. I be looking for everything. I didn't get the spin, so that was good.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Yeah. I think we'll be in good hands. So
You think we're gonna be in good hands?
yeah, I think so.
I
yeah.
think so too.
Yeah.
I think it's great representation for the city. So y'all definitely need to vote her in when it's the election.
The election is May 19th. Early voting starts on April 27th. So we're getting close. It is important that you get out and vote. I ask for your vote. I've chosen the city, and now I'm asking you to choose me. Citizens of Richmond and Burke County, I look forward to serving you as your next Superior Court judge of the Augusta Judicial Circuit.
Hold on, you got canvas everywhere.
We got a canvas everywhere.
Like the mayor.
Yes. Well, we got to get to Burke County too. We need people.
She elected.
Yeah, we've got to
Elected
let
official.
people know. People need to see us. We need to be able to have conversations, get the message out there. It's very important. And I think that the more people that we can connect with on a personal level, the more confidence that they will have in the changes that need to occur. So we're looking forward to seeing you.
Oh yeah.
I love
This
it.
is a great interview. How did you guys feel about the interview, man?
No, I feel good.
Felt
I
good?
feel I'm not, for me personally, like,
Anybody got any questions in the comments while Maine is talking?
I just like to hear law talk anyway, like real law talk, not like cookie cutter stuff, but like just real, like, and then hearing a story a lot of times. A lot of times you see a judge, you see a lawyer, you just see them for what they are, but her giving her background, telling us how she got there. So that was important too. And then her speaking on the public defender. Like I told you the other day, it's so ironic. I've been trying to look for a public defender to interview, to ask them kind of questions, because I be wanting to know like what they mindset be like, because online it's like the worst thing to be. But she made it seem like it's the coolest thing in the world to be. You know what I'm saying? So I guess it's just who you pick. Like
it is who you pick.
Nobody, to me, since I've been doing like even podcasts, and nobody has made it to me, and I've interviewed some lawyers, they've never made it cool to be a public defender. It's always like, yeah, I wouldn't. It's how it always is. So when she spoke about it, was like able to speak about it from a standpoint of like, no, I did it this way. This is what I like that. It's just me though,
Yeah, this is a good interview. Do you want to leave everyone with your handle, how to follow you,
how to reach you,
how to locate you? Y'all looking for helpers?
Yes, we are.
Community
So
volunteers?
you can, the website is ADP for Judge. So I'm Alexia Davis Payne. So it's ADP for
Oh, that's
Judge.
catchy.
.com. Yeah.
I like that. That's catchy.
Yeah. So you can sign up there. We would love for you to come out and walk with us. We would love to meet you. We would love to just get you some more information about the campaign. You can find out more about me, how you can support us, how you can get involved. And we are looking forward to seeing you. We are also on Instagram, right? And that is elect Alexia Payne.
Is this your first with like social media?
No,
most lawyers don't be doing social media.
I'm on it. I've been on it for a while, but I haven't been as active. So, but it's necessary, and this is where the people are. So we're trying to connect to everybody and let them know what we're bringing, what I'm bringing, the change that we want to see in the community. And so, so it's, and on Facebook, it's elect Alexia Payne. We're Alexia Payne for Superior Court, something like that.
and just so we know, because it's ALEXIA.
Yes,
Mhm.
Alexia.
Yeah.
Two A's.
Two A's.
Two A's.
Two A's. Really?
Oh, wow.
Well, no, front and end.
Front and
instead
back.
of
I
S.
spelled it wrong again. Jesus Christ. All right, cool.
All right,
Good
y'all.
show.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in to our live tonight. We hope you guys enjoyed it. We will see you next Tuesday. We are out.
Good night.
Bye, y'all.